This is David Gilmore, known as LDS Prepper, and I'll view over 600 videos on emergency preparedness, including gardening, water filtration, living off-grid, and so forth. Go to ldsprepper.com. Today we're talking about growing food in abundance and how you can do it. So I came back from Oshkosh and had a great week with all the pilots there and with Autogyro, and came back and the tops of the potato plants had died back, which means it's time to harden off the potatoes. So what I did is I just cut off the tops, and you can see here in this first 10 feet up to this wood right here is where I've used my LDS Prepper Premium Micronutrient Mix to feed these potatoes. So a couple things I noticed when I was harvesting, or at least getting the tops off, is that I had dense foliage, lots and lots of foliage, and as you can see, it kind of thins out as you go down the row, and we'll talk about that in a second, because this is the second year I've been testing alternative fertilizers. And the reason why I do this, and the reason why I'm willing to sacrifice my garden, is because I am a truth seeker, and if there is a better, more efficient, more affordable, better way to grow food that's more nutrient dense, then I'm all for that. And so if I need to sacrifice 2/3 of my garden to do that, I'm willing to do that. But as you can see here, just from the foliage of the potatoes, it's a dramatic difference from here where I was using my LDS Prepper Premium Micronutrient Mix, and you can see the cutoff right here, and then it dramatically thins out over here where there is no fertilizer, and then over here on the end it's just very, very sparse plants. What I'm going to be doing with these cut off plants is I'm going to cover the potatoes in the soil and let them harden off. Gives them a kind of a thicker skin so they store longer. Now, because I've sacrificed 2/3 of my garden here, I will have to probably replant immediately after I harvest these potatoes. Otherwise, I would just leave the foliage on top of them all winter long and just come out here to the garden and pull them out as they grow, because they will continue growing in the garden even though I'm not watering them and I'm not feeding them. So that was the first thing I noticed was a nice, healthy, thick foliage, which to me is an indication that the plant is healthy, versus the very thin foliage here that is a result of using the TNT organic nanosize fertilizer. Second thing I noticed was how bumpy the soil was. And it's bumpy because there's so many potatoes in the soil. Now, you can see some of these have been exposed in the sun. I've eaten these potatoes for many years now, never had an issue with them. But even though they're above ground, and I haven't moved these potatoes, even though they're above ground, the foliage was so thick that it protected them from the sun. So lots of bumps, which to me means I'm going to have a lot of potatoes. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this all the way to harvest, and this is the area here where I had no fertilizer, you can see the dramatic difference between the number of potatoes above ground and the contour of the soil, just not bulging with potatoes underneath, but there are definitely potatoes there. The reason why I am bringing this to harvest is because people that I showed the foliage to was saying, well, maybe potatoes that you fertilize with the TNT nanosize fertilizer, maybe they're putting all their energy into potato growth, and so when you harvest you'll have a gazillion pounds of potatoes from that. And I kind of looked at the plant and how ill it was, and nutrient deficiency symptoms multiple across the plants, and I thought, that's probably not the case. And as I'm seeing here, the potatoes I do see above ground are teeny tiny potatoes, teeny tiny potatoes. So I'm going to, as I maintain through the whole growing season, put my money on the LDS Prepper Premium Micronutrient Mix. Now, as you can see, it's the same amount of space that's 10 feet evenly distributed between each of these sections, but it's obvious to anybody who has eyes that there's substantially more food grown here. And so if you want to grow in abundance, If you want to grow food as if your life depends on it, and I made a video of that, and I'll put a link down below this video, then you need to feed your plants all the nutrients that they need. And to assure that you're doing that, get the balanced LDS Prepper Premium Micronutrient Mix and feed your garden. So I will let these sit here for 2 weeks and harden off, and I'll put the plants back on. I'll show you that here in a second, and then we'll come back and we'll weigh the harvest. Okay, I got the stalks stacked up on top of the potatoes, and I was trying to even out the foliage to protect the potatoes underneath from the direct sunlight as they cure in the soil and get that extra thicker skin for storage, long-term storage. And then I realized there's hardly any potatoes down here, so I kind of stopped trying to spread out the foliage evenly. But anyway, so the idea is that we will cover these up, let them sit for a couple weeks, and then get the harder skin on them, and then we will harvest them and weigh them. I will also be sending them into a agricultural lab for a nutrient density or nutrient test to see what nutrients they have and what percentages and so forth. And I will also do that to the soil to see if there's a difference, because I'm just growing in sand and sawdust, and obviously it's working when you give the plants the nutrients that they need. So stay tuned. I will have an update as I progress through the harvest here, and hopefully this helps you understand that you may be doing everything right except for feeding your plants the nutrients that they need. And if that's the case, that's a very simple solution. Just go to ldsprepperstore.com, get 8 micronutrient packs, and I will pay the shipping anywhere in the US, and you'll be able to have enough micronutrients on hand to grow your food. And just mix that with the macronutrients, the all-purpose nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium you can get locally at big box stores and Walmart and Home Depot, Lowe's, nurseries and so forth, feed stores. And you get a balanced plant food that will feed your family, because you can grow food enough to feed your family. This is LDS Prepper reminding you, if ye are prepared, you shall not fear. Please comment below. Let me know how your gardens are going, and I look forward to reading those comments and replying, and hope that your family is preparing for the coming and existing food crisis that will get more and more severe.